this session is titled The Lifetime Value Vision. We've touched on this topic in pieces.
Is this a religious discussion?
It could be.
Absolutely. I think it might be, yes. We'll see. There's a lot of
The Church of
evangelism and followership going on in this event. So, yeah, religious. Anyway, what we're going to try to do is explore the opportunity, the issues, and approaches for builders to capitalize on aftermarket lifetime value of homes. And Joan is still with me as co-host. We haven't.
I didn't leave.
We're still getting along.
We still get along.
Panelists, we're going to hear from Tim Costello again to kick us off. Ty's back with us in more of an editorial capacity. Dennis Webb, VP at Fulton Homes, is joining us. I'm looking forward to his perspectives. And then Michael Werner, who's the founder and CEO of a company called HomeX. Michael was involved in this industry with Globe Union, Gerber Plumbing for a number of years. In addition to Werner ladders, right, which I'm sure some builders use.
But every builder stands on them.
Yeah. So that's the panel. Tim's going to hit the opportunity and the issues. Dennis is going to talk about some of his experience with remodeling and redo, and maybe whether that's got some possibility going forward. Ty is going to cover kind of a customer experience vision for the app and ecosystem connections. And then Michael's going to help us understand what managed services is and how it pertains to this opportunity. And then we'll hear from him more commercially on HomeX. So that's the flow. And I passed the clicker
Excellent.
to Mr. Costello.
Fantastic. Well, this is just a continuation of this morning. This morning, we talked about how do we optimize the one-time transaction, right? We talked about home building. We talked about margins and how we can expand the margins, but it was about expanding the margin of a one-time transaction, because that basically is the business model of our industry, right? We have this single transaction. We showed this model before, right? $400 and some thousand, 20% gross margins, 8 to 10% net profitability, right? We're making $35,000, $45,000 per home. Yeah, I know, Dennis, you probably make a lot more than that.
We do.
You probably personally make $30,000 a home, actually, don't you?
That'll be a little on the low side.
Okay, very good. But anyway, that's the model in the industry. The challenge that our industry has, unlike many other industries, right, is from that point, it's all downhill, right? We put all of this work and effort into creating communities, to building homes for people. But once we've closed, once we've taken that margin, all that can happen from there is basically something bad. It's a series of warranty claims, it's a series of potential lawsuits and liabilities and everything else, and we have this risk management portfolio over here, and we just pray that the liabilities that come in are within budget. So what we want to do during this discussion is turn that side of our business upside down as well. How do we actually make money perpetually in a lifetime revenue model? And to do that, we've got to get our heads around this kind of concept of customer lifetime value. And if you've been into any other, Dennis, you grew up in retail, right? And retail knows this explicitly. It's not about coming in to buy a suit. It's about coming in at 18 to buy your first suit, and they're your customer for the next 42 years, and they're going to spend $29,000 over 42 years with you, and they will bring in their family and their friends and their children as well. And that's what you're cultivating. You're cultivating not the, $50 margin on a suit. You're cultivating $29,000 of transaction. And how do you keep that customer engaged, and how do you then reap this recurring revenue over time? So we're going to talk about customer lifetime value in the context of home building, which is not very often discussed. So for those of you who are not big students of customer lifetime value, it's really simple. It just represents the customer's value to a company over a period of time. So if you sell a home to somebody, what is your customer lifetime value of that customer? And I can guarantee for 99.9% of all home builders, it's just the $35,000. You have one relationship with them. It closes at close, and from that point forward, there's no revenue engaged with that customer at all. Now, I realize that some builders go, oh, we have a mortgage and financing, a partnership, or maybe we have our own captured mortgage and financing company. We make some money there. Maybe you've done some stuff with connectivity services, and you might get a little bit of money, but usually that's a one-time fee. It's not a recurring fee for life, right? Maybe if in the development side, you might get some recurring fees for connectivity services over a longer period of time. There's been a few builders that have, done that kind of stuff. But in general, our business isn't a lifetime revenue model. So we're going to try to kind of rethink this and think about this lifetime revenue model and how we.
Isn't it a net negative after the initial
Well,
transaction?
it's on. You have a reserved liability, right? You know what you think your average warranty costs and liability and risks and all that is, and it's in your budget, right? So it's there. Now the problem is it's unlimited, so it could be worse than you think it is. You could have imported Chinese drywall for.
But we're planning
right?
to lose money. We may have financed it or have
Yes.
insurance about. We're planning to lose money after the initial transaction.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's the basic business model. So if you look at other market sectors, again, other market sectors have transcended this. They realize that it's not actually the sale of the one-time sale of the discrete asset. It's the sale of that asset, the acquisition of that customer, and now I can figure out how to sell them a whole series of services that have long-term revenue ramifications. The auto industry has probably been the best at this. Obviously they do finance, they do service, they do warranty extension, they now do insurance, they do digital upgrades now. So if you're a Tesla owner, you can buy digital upgrades to the car that I already bought. So it's not just that I bought the car.
Yeah.
I can every month, every year, every quarter buy all these new digital upgrades. I can buy a Christmas package that gives me a special light blinking Christmas message on my Tesla for like an extra $125. Yeah, why do we not offer that on a home? You could have a whole light parade thing, right, on all your Fulton homes. But there's all kinds of, you got navigation and security, which has become a big revenue stream, entertainment systems, feature unlocks, digital services, you have all this kind of stuff. And you can see here Tesla's launching now their own insurance company. And they're launching their own insurance company because they have all the data. They know how far you've driven, whether you drive over the speed limit. They know whether you drive dangerously or whether you drive conservatively. They actually have all of this data on you. So they can more effectively actually tailor your rate to your driving and decide who they're going to sell insurance to, which makes them a more effective insurance company, right? So GM has been out there doing the same kind of thing. They did it first with OnStar, which I'm sure many of us are familiar with, and they sold OnStar to other manufacturers under different brand names. And then they also went into vehicle connectivity, and they make a lot of money on 5G connectivity and wireless connectivity in trucks, for example, for the trades and things like that. That was an extension to their business. So home building after the purchase is a $440 billion a year industry. So it's a bigger industry actually than home building is itself. So the amount of money that we spend every single year maintaining, working, upgrading, refreshing, and doing all this kind of stuff in our homes is bigger than home building itself. And what's interesting is new home owners spend more than any other class of owners. So that's a really important thing for us to understand. So we don't just sell a home, we bring an entity into the marketplace that will spend more money than any other household entity in the following 2 years. And yet we don't monetize it. We give it away. We simply say, yes, we know the Jones family. We know that they bought a Fulton home. We know that they moved over there to Buckeye. You don't really build in Buckeye, do you?
We don't.
Okay, I didn't think so. But
We're proud of that fact.
Let's pretend you actually made a stupid land buy and you build in Buckeye, okay? Let's
Get
pretend
rid of the
that.
land guy at that point.
But anyway, they got this home. They built it. They're in it. We do nothing with it. We allow that customer to go into public record. The post office then sells those names and addresses, and then everybody else starts to market non-intelligently. They have no idea what's in the home. They have no idea how much they paid for the home. They don't know what kind of appliances they have. They don't know what options they bought and what options they didn't buy. They don't know if they bought a backyard deck or not, whether they bought landscaping or not, whether they have irrigation or not. They don't know anything. So we give this undifferentiated buyer to the market, and we make nothing off of it. So let's take a look first as to what we buy. So how new home buyers spend is also uniquely different, very different than the average home consumer. For example, 67% of all new homes sold do not have a washer and dryer. Now, the one thing that you don't do is buy a $600,000 house and move your old washer and dryer into a $600,000 house. It's just wrong. It just doesn't look right, right? Everything's new except this old washer and dryer. So the frequency of purchase for washer and dryer is absolutely astronomical for new home buyers. 36% of new homes don't include a refrigerator. Maybe they get ice delivery. You think is that what we're thinking? Is that, yeah, there's got to be some reason why we don't provide a refrigerator, right? But nearly all new homes come with ranges, ovens, and microwaves, and the spending on ranges and ovens and microwaves of new home consumers is zero in the first 2 years. It is not even measurable. It is so small, right? So what they spend on is not just kind of this average customer profile. It is a very specific profile. For example, they spend 530% more on furniture in the first 2 years than an average customer. They spend 12 times more on dining rooms and kitchen furniture than an average customer, 6.5 times more on sofas, and 4.5 times more on bedroom furnishings. And part of that is because they move into generally larger homes than they had previously owned, so they have empty rooms, and they don't like moving old furniture again into new homes. They spend 10 times more on window treatments in that period of time, and they spend about the same amount of money on alterations and repairs, but they spend zero on repairs. It's all in alterations, and it tends to be with fences, landscaping, outdoor improvements, and driveways, right? So it is a very rarefied kind of set of things that these consumers spend money on. Now, on top of that, besides that, they also have the normal set of expenses, everything from home insurance, snow removal, lawn care, property taxes, mortgage, all these kind of things. These are just homeowner expenses. And if you put these kind of annual things over on the right that we might be able to tap into in some way, utility bills, right? Because that includes cable, connection, wireless, and all of those services, right? Snow and lawn care and all kind of external care and insurance, that's about $7,000 to $8,000 per year. And then you got to think outside of the box. What other things does this customer uniquely have attached to them because of the purchase? And one interesting thing I learned in the auto industry is the number one buying sign, a related life event to buying a new car is closing on a house. And the reason for that is you don't want to buy a new car before you close because you don't want your credit dinged. So you close on your house, and the credit profile for a car loan is much less than it is for a home loan. So you always buy your home first, and then you buy your new car. So what if we could monetize to car companies all of our audience as well? So it's not just about the services in the home, right? It's not just about the utilities and the furniture and the improvements. It's also about the unique spending profiles that our customers have. And to do that, you have to know who are you selling to, what demographics, what income range, right? What geography, and what is the spending profile of your buyers, and then how can you monetize that outside? And I kind of end on this one, which is unlocking the full life cycle of the connected home. The car industry has determined that unlocking the digital data from your car is worth more than selling the car to you. That they can actually sell cars at cost now and generate more dollars with the selling the data about you than they can in actually selling the car. So what would that look like in a home? Why would people care? What if we knew how much energy you used, when you used the energy, when your lights were on, how many people were in the home, what kind of internet service was used? Right? I mean, what if you actually knew all this information? Would people care? And the issue is, yeah, people do care. Utility companies want to know this. Insurance companies want to know this. Lots of parties actually want this information and will create synthetic digital products out of this. And in our industry, we have the opportunity to tap into this and create digital synthetic products that will then add on to this. So now think about what we've layered onto this. We have the discrete consumerism of over $20,000 of goods that are directly bought because I've moved into a new home. Then we've got the operating costs of the home that we can tap into. Then we've got this kind of out-of-the-box correlated events like buying new vehicles that we can tap into. And now we're going to have a connected home with a never-ending stream of terabytes of data coming out of the home of how that home is actually being used. Who can we sell all of that to? So if you put all this together, and this is my last slide, if you just look at a kind of a 5-year model, if you add up the kind of household expenditures that we might be able to touch, right? We're not going to touch mortgage. I'm putting that aside. The monthly maintenance over 5 years, kind of the connected home over 5 years, we're talking about somewhere between $100,000 and $125,000 in commerce. And if we could just take 10% of that, if we could just have a 10% kind of overhead on all of that commerce, that would give us somewhere between, let's say, $10,000 and $12,000, $13,000. That would increase our net profitability as a builder by 30%. That would move us from making $35,000 a home to $47,000 a home. That's a huge impact on our P&L. And this has nothing to do with what I discussed earlier. So you think about what we discussed earlier, if you have this massive 500% increase in your net profitability, and then you layer onto that lifetime revenue, and this is only over 5 years. There's no reason that this can't extend to 5 years, to 10 years, to 15 years, to 20 years, where we don't just sell a home, we deliver a consuming household to a marketplace, and we take a rent on that in perpetuity. Even after that home is sold and resold to owner after owner after owner, the builder collects a rent in perpetuity for that consuming household forever. So that's the tee up. Where are we going to go from there?
Get some good lawyers. Yeah.
Get some good lawyers.
Good lawyers.
I like that.
Let's pass it to Dennis.
All right. There you go. Green means go.
Okay. So should I press green?
That's green.
Where's green?
So one of the things that, aside from what Tim was talking about, is probably the biggest revenue generating item in the home thereafter, religious again, would be remodeling or new stuff.
Yep.
We didn't sell them enough refrigerators or enough washers or dryers or something like that. What we see, and we actually tried this during the downturn. You remember that downturn that happened? It was ugly. Anyway, we were selling 2,200 homes before the downturn, and then all of a sudden we were
500?
selling 300.
Yeah.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to figure out how to, skin the cat better. So I figure, well, we're not selling any houses. Maybe we'll remodel some houses. And so we put in Fulton Interiors. And we formed it as a company. We trademarked it and everything like that. Well, it had its own website, and we did marketing, and we sent out things and everything like that. Well, the problem is it was 2008, 2009, so not
Robust market.
not a robust market. Okay. The other thing is all those homes we had built previous in 2003 and 4 and 5 and 6 were all very Tuscan looking, and they all looked the same. So people didn't really want to remodel that Tuscan looking house with another Tuscan look in 2008, 2009. But what we found out is we had people that had bought homes like 10 years before and said, well, I need a new refrigerator. Well, that was easy, or I need a new washer, or I need some new doors or something like that. So what we said is, let's kind of open it up for everything. And we used Envision as a catalog. So someone would come in or call up and say, I'm interested in this. We'd give them an account, and they'd have pricing and everything like that.
Yep.
We made Envision just like a store, just like a regular thing. And it worked out well because we were able to price everything. One of the things we couldn't price was demo. Mm-hmm. Demo was a complete oddity to us. Our trade partner at the time, ISI, which is now ILG, they weren't too good at demos either. And we weren't used to going into the people's houses and screwing them up.
My experience is 5-year-olds are great at it.
Yeah.
Just
So
have a
that
group of
didn't work
5-year-olds
so well,
you
right?
loan to these people, and their kitchen will be demoed really fast.
Exactly. So we said we've got to figure out how to do this a little bit better. So this is like a jumbo postcard we sent out. We sent it out to all our buyers. We do a real good job of communicating with buyers that have bought our house. We send them an email once a month. It could be on various things. It could be on a new community. It could be on an Energy Star Award we won. It could be on healthy homes. It could be on anything. And so we really do a good job of keeping in contact with that. And I think if we go forward with this whole idea, it's imperative you keep in contact with your buyers. we did a study just recently, and I'm not sure if this is good or bad. We took our last 9,000 houses, and 5% of the people bought a second house of our buyers. That's pretty good, I think, but I don't know. So and it might be higher because we based it on email address. So if a husband buys a house with an email address and his wife buys a house 6 years later, we wouldn't know that. And we didn't want to run by last name because there's too many Jose Garcias around. And so we said, well, let's kind of look at it that way. So I'm not sure how else to do it. So we did it on primary
Google
email.
Household ID.
Okay.
Google Household ID will tell you all the email addresses.
See, I knew it was
all
coming
the
to this
pho- and
thing.
all of the phone numbers of that household,
Okay.
which is really important in attribution and marketing, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is a huge issue, by the way, with marketing. You'll have an email lead come in, and it will be a junk email address.
Correct.
But when you go to contract, they're not going to use junk email address. They use their real email address. And then it looks like that lead didn't convert. So you have to convert back to Google Household ID. Because
Okay.
it will collect all of the email and phone numbers associated, and then you get
Anyway, I kind of like to
that.
see if that's good or bad, you know. The average age was 5.5 years after they bought the first house.
And how many years did the 9,000 homes represent?
15,
15.
yeah. So it's the last 15 years, which is most of our life.
Right.
You know. And we didn't have good information before that, so we kind of put everything together in 2005, 2006. Same time we did Envision, so it all came together at the same time. The records we have now are unbelievable, so we've got everything, so that part's good. So here's some of the things that we did and just some of the ideas that, you know, we were talking about. The easiest thing was appliances. The hardest thing was flooring because we had the demo and things like that. So we marketed every buyer since 1995, which was only, you know, about 12 years. And so the problem was we didn't have the current merchandising that we would have today. We tied everything to Envision. It was an easy tie-in with the lenders. Our lenders say, yeah, we'll finance that, things like that. We had a problem with trying to figure out how to do a bank card because they wanted like 3% and stuff like that. So that's something you'd have to, you know, figure out.
And then you repurposed your design center facility, so you use the same design center facility that
Yes.
you use for your new buyers.
Yes.
And everybody's going to be able to go see that. Isn't that tonight
your tour?
or tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, you
Right.
get to come see that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah, so that was the other thing is that we could enter this business without much overhead. You know, we already had the facility, we had the people and everything like that. And actually, it wasn't bad. I mean, we had it for about a year and a half. We did about $2 million, which is $2 million we wouldn't have done. And we got it at pretty good margins.
And what is it today? Or is that's
We closed it. We can't even, you know, we can't even take care of the buyers we have now.
So you closed the remodel business?
Yeah.
But you
But
proved
now would be a great time to do it, actually, when you think about
Correct.
it, because of the styles. You can come in there and have clean lines and things like that.
Correct.
There's a Tuscan thing, and all these people you know, their phones are running off the hook. They go, "Can you come in and fix my house?" You know,
In a tight
and they
supply
trust us.
in a tight supply market, you've proven you
Yeah.
can do it. You have the systems and processes.
Yeah, and it's already set up. You know,
And you have better data now than you did.
much better data. What we would do
You have
differently.
pictures. You got pictures,
Yeah.
right? So you've
Before
got
and after.
Yeah, you could do personalized before and after
Yeah.
marketing. You could show them this is what your kitchen looked like.
And what
Here's what we would
is
do.
we'd probably have a separate management. So we'd run it separately.
Yep.
Because I was trying to do
Separately.
everything. And
Yeah, back then you were
crazy.
trying to do it because your other business had deteriorated. The question is
Correct.
this an opportunity to actually create a separate business?
Separate revenue stream.
I think it could.
It starts to then
You know.
farm these incredible populations of homes that we've delivered to the marketplace, and you know them better than anybody else.
Well, that's the thing. They're all electronic.
Yep.
We all have their floor plans, their
Yep.
blueprints, everything. We have their selections.
Yep.
We know everything about them. It's just natural to have this. So take advantage of this data that Tim has given us over the last 15 years and put it to use, you know. It's a matter of, do we want to do another thing?
Right.
It's a whole other thing, But I think it has value, and I think we could actually make some pretty good money because no one else is really doing this.
Right.
Would you see doing the marketing and the kind of inside selling work yourself at Fulton, or would you prefer you would do that yourselves?
Because it's second nature. But I would do the operational thing and hire someone to do the operations and say, okay, you're going to set this up. You're going to work with, the vendors and things like that.
Separate trade base?
No, you'd probably want to use your same trade base because
And then that's that's right now,
it's allocation.
Right? How
yeah,
are you, the
yeah.
allocation of resources?
Exactly. So, well, let's just kick out, Pulte or somebody.
No one's here.
No, I guess not.
So,
We're talking you into a business.
well, I understand,
Yeah.
So our partner now is ILG, and they do all our installation of cabinets and flooring and countertops, and they've been a great partner, and I don't know, we'll see. We're looking at this thing, but right now we're so busy. It's like, when are you going to not be busy? And then is that the right time to do it? I don't know. It's kind of weird right now.
But it's always an issue how you define your business, right? Is GM too busy working on electric cars to also be the leader in electronic communication? The answer, if that's your answer, you are eventually going to find yourself obsolete.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to launch these businesses, and the question is, do you do it separately? Do you simply create an entity or a partnership with somebody else or whatever, but monetize that and don't leave that opportunity,
Right.
right?
And then this whole thing we're talking about is, do we have a whole bunch of partnerships? And I know John said, well, would Fulton take it on themselves? I said, I'm not sure. This is a big deal. If you're talking all these different things, you're talking about insurances and furniture and remodeling and all this,
It's a lot.
You've got a lot of pieces.
Even the digital marketing sophistication to take your data and do relatively simple stuff,
Yeah.
and then to really monitor that and figure out where the successes and the failures are and hone to. It's a lot of expertise to bring in-house.
Yeah, I mean, in some of the things we do, with, because we have relationships with 300 manufacturing brands, is you cross-reference what I call free-range consumers. Home buyers are not free-range consumers. Home buyers can buy what we offer them. Free-range consumers own a home, and they go to a local bath shop, or they go to Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever. And what you really want to see is, what do free-range consumers buy? What's going on? And you have to do this, again, by segmentation, by market. So in Buckeye today, right? And I don't know what a Buckeye house costs today. Is it over 100,000 yet? No.
They even hit
maybe.
over 250.
Over 250. Yeah, $250,000 house in Buckeye. Okay,
Poor Buckeye, man.
Yeah, he's never been a fan of Buckeye, so I always
What's
tease him.
terrible?
I always
It's
tease him
not.
about
It's
it.
just a little further out.
I tease
Yeah.
him about it. But anyway, what the free-range consumers are doing there, you find out this says, so they've abandoned, satin or brushed nickel, and they've gone back to bright chrome. And you take that free-range retail information and go, oh, wait a minute, how many homes do we have that have all brushed nickel bath sets and kitchen sets?
And go after 'em.
And then immediately market to them. And that could be a 1-year-old home, a 5-year-old home, a 10-year-old home. It's irrelevant, right? If the trends have changed, and you have to take the retail information along with then your data of your customers and merge those together into this kind of intelligent targeted retailing. And that's what will really drive profitability.
Right.
And you need to offer that service, or everyone has to hire a data scientist to be able to do that.
Which we're not obviously not going to do.
Right.
But if you already have the information, like we already
You do. You just need someone dedicated.
It's a tremendous advantage over someone that doesn't.
Yep.
It's half your battle.
Very cool. Good perspectives. Ty, tell us about stuff.
Sure. Yeah, we'll kind of keep going on to the evolution of that lifetime value. And, there were a couple points that you guys brought up that I'm sitting here in my mind that I didn't even dawn on me prior to going into this. And one is, I'm probably very similar to a lot of you that, my personal email address is a Gmail address. And Gmail is absolutely fantastic about picking out promotional emails and putting them into a folder that I never, ever, ever, ever see. No matter how much I want to, I never see it. And that's where, a lot of that kind of, how do we get to and actually communicate with the people that want to be reached out to? In the days of taking the designs and taking the information and bringing it in, Envision is fantastic from everyone that I've spoken to and using that as their design studio. Taking that information, then how do you communicate with the client? Is it through push notifications inside of a mobile app? Is it being able to mine that data, take that data, correlate it, and then be able to say, hey, we've got 30,000 major appliances that are coming off their manufacturer warranty. Can we reach out to those people, upgrade them from stainless steel to black stainless steel now, because that's a fresh new thing? Back to kind of your data there, Tim, and being able to communicate that to the homeowner and then monetize that back as the builder, being able to say, how do we get a piece of that? That's where there's no right answer. There's no one magic formula, but being able to have those linkages into the client's pocket to be able to do that. You look at a company, and I think you were talking about Pulte, mine, and scanning a QR code. It kind of takes exactly what Rooms to Go tried to do 10 years ago, and now put it into a QR code that as you're buying your house and going through your selections, you can do that. But what happens to that after you make those selections? It sits in its own area. Then you've got the selections that you got from your builder in one area, and all of this data is dispersed. And being able to bring that all together into one aspect, so that when I go to shop for window treatments, I now can pull something up that says, hey, based upon the furniture color that I selected, the carpet and flooring that I selected from my builder, now I can make a more educated decision on the window coverings that I actually want, or the refrigerator that I want. Do I want a smart refrigerator that can tell me when my mayonnaise is running out?
Ty, talk about how you make this sticky. It's just not a storage place. It's not just a repository. You're taking the maintenance and repair information and putting it up in the cloud so that there are alerts and notifications that it's time to do something.
Correct.
And the honey-do list doesn't get out of control and ruin another marriage.
Yeah, right? Or every Saturday, right?
Yeah.
For a used home. And I think that's where there's an evolution of this, and so you'll see, and Mike, I think, is going to do a fantastic job. I'm so amazed by HomeX each time I hear what you guys are doing in that. But, how many people out there had a virtual appointment with a doctor over the last 2 years? And if you can then start to take that to your home services, to fixing a water heater. I mean, I was talking to my wife this morning, and she said, hey, the air conditioner doesn't work right now, and we live in Hawaii, so we don't have air conditioners, but it's a window unit, so it's plugged into an outlet. So now all of a sudden it's, is that something that I need to call an electrician to come over and do, or could we do that via HomeX and
We can remotely diagnose it.
Exactly.
Figure it out.
And those are the next usability functions that, if I can't solve that and it now has to be a circuit breaker replacement, you guys could roll a truck, and all of it could be scheduled and connected via that ecosystem that is right there in the pocket. Just like how Tesla can warm up the seats of your car based on your meeting schedule for that day, and those kinds of things. So I think that's where that longevity and that value proposition can start to tie in across multiple different companies, multiple different organizations, but using that underlying architecture in those repositories. And then ultimately, building, I want to get to here, is how do you build that annual subscription revenue out of that? So is that making a chunk of change on the app that you deliver to every one of your homes? One of the podcasts that I was on about a year ago or so was with AFT Construction, and Brad Levitt's amazing, and how he was discussing the more you build, the longer your tail becomes. And so, as you're looking over the last 15 years of the homes that you've built in the thousands, if you could make money on every single air filter that was replaced and every single water filter that was replaced, granted, it might not be a lot on each specific home, but over the course of the life cycle of that homeowner and the subsequent homeowners as that house continues to sell, that adds up to a portfolio revenue source for you. I mentioned in my sponsorship presentation that 500 emails are coming in a day. Why not monetize on the paint that these people are trying to find and be able to make money selling the touch-up paints or renovation paints that they're going to be buying from a Home Depot or Lowe's anyway. Or get that revenue coming in off of the HomeX type of renovations, remodels, or subscription-based service work that could be done over a 2, 5, 10-year period, just like the car manufacturers do. So that's really kind of how I can see the design being brought into the documentation, being brought into the remainder of the ecosystems. Or somebody buys a home this year and rates plummet, and now all of a sudden the mortgage companies are saying, hey, I want to refinance. I want to get all of these people that bought homes last year and get them to refinance. Why couldn't you make some money off of those linkages, or make some money off of when that person wants to sell a home? Granted, you're going to be marketing to them to try and buy a second home from you. So I think that there are revenue sources, and there are multiple different ways to tackle it, but being able to just start to get across that start line with one thing to be able to start to snowball into how do you build those revenue sources.
Well, and having that UI that the consumer trusts and is consulting on a regular basis, because email marketing is no fun anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation starts at obviously having that great relation. You've done your job, you've got great customer satisfaction, you have evangelical buyers and fans.
Yep.
They're the ones that want to hear from us. They're the ones that would trust us to go back in their homes. So yeah, that's kind of a starting.
Yeah.
Starting line.
Before we go to Michael, do you want to comment on historic obstacle
Yeah,
of the warranty?
I'm sitting here
game,
thinking
et
about
cetera?
that, and unfortunately, how many people are here do business in California? So we have Nancy, we have one, literally. Okay.
No, we have more.
Two, okay.
They haven't moved to
They
Texas
don't,
yet?
they don't
Oh,
all
so
raise their hand.
We don't all want to move to Texas.
It's just 1,500 miles west. You
So,
get on 10.
yeah,
you
yeah.
exit in San
I know,
Antonio.
it's a different world. It's a different government. It's a different place.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Okay, we're not going there. No, the problem in California, it's my comment about lawyers and needing to, hire lobbyists to do something in California is we have a 10-year long-term warranty with construction, so construction defect law. And lawyers have, Nancy just shared with me, the Irvine Company, a big land developer in our world, their lawyers' takes were that any time that we re-entered the home, the clock would start over again. Well, right there, it's a non-starter. Our attempt at the New Home Company and at Lang, I tried doing I'm a huge evangelical fan about customers for life. How stupid of us not to monetize it. They trust us, they love us, they want us back in their homes, they ask us. They ask us for furniture, they ask us for everything we've discussed. Is that the lawyers did not want to open the litigious ability for us to screw something up in the house. And so it's like a fear-based thing. So if we actually had builders that would say, that's ridiculous, because we know our business well enough, we know how to do it, but when markets are healthy, no one wants to do it. To Dennis's thing, we're too busy, we let that business go. Is that I think we just need passionate people to do it. But we've been stopped in California, both on a legal standpoint of that
So
10-year
Joan, I
clock.
kind of hear two obstacles there. One obstacle is the cyclicality of our business.
Right.
We are absolutely bipolar, right? We're euphoric and then we're depressed, and
Correct.
it's how this industry is. I always say there's about 15 minutes you can sell any builder anything, right? As it's going up and as it's coming
Yeah,
down, there's
yeah.
that 15-minute window where they actually have enough time to think.
Right.
And other than that, they're either panicked or euphoric, and you can't talk to them. So that's a challenge. And then on top of that, it sounds like in California at least, the litigation issue would drive you to some kind of strategic partnership. Obviously, if you send people to Amazon to buy things and they buy things at Amazon, they're not going to come back and sue
Correct.
you,
Right.
for that.
So it'd be a third-party
Right.
partnership.
Yeah. So
And I think both of those are solvable.
Right. It just then I would hope, and then it was because we walked down that third-party line, and then it was all about the legal ability to collect and profit share in that was stopped as well.
Why don't
So,
the lawyers
but it's
just
California.
write
No one's here from
agreements?
California, so who cares?
No, there's
right?
some people, they just don't raise their hand.
Oh,
But why don't the lawyers just rewrite your agreements so that you're insulated
Right.
instead of complaining?
And
Get them to do something.
The marketing
So
design.
let me
passion.
jump in and build on this, because earlier Tim was talking about a fundamental paradigm shift in how you sell new homes against used homes. That's paradigm shift number one. Paradigm shift number two is that when you hand the keys over, why should you stop getting any money?
Right.
You know, it can be the 15 minutes between the bipolar episodes. It can be the lawyers in California. But those things are all solvable. And I think the world has fundamentally changed. And as I think about home builders, and I've had the good fortune of working with builders for 30 years between Werner, Ladder, and Gerber, that the visions that I've seen, and when we talk about post-sale service, the vision hasn't changed, right? The vision is, how do you have a happy, healthy, seamlessly engaged homeowner that the builder can continue to get a little revenue from? So that's what we see. And I'll talk in a minute. You're going to probably have to extend your whole session today an hour, though, because we're running so long already, John. But I'll talk in a minute about HomeX and why we created this company. But fundamentally, we saw a huge opportunity to change how people live with their homes. And that's what we're after. And it's a big opportunity. Tim talked about just in the first 2 years, for people who buy homes, they spend $440 billion. But if you look at the overall home services market, and that's really the lens that HomeX is starting with right now, that market is over $600 billion a year. Crazy. And granted, you know, most of the homes are used homes out there. But as you think about your 15 years of homes and you think about the hundreds of thousands, the millions of homes that you all have built, that pie keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, all of those homes are new ones.
They were all new,
right?
Right.
Yeah,
and
right.
then they become
they
part of the whole ecosystem. So the paradigm shift is, how do we take advantage, how do we participate in that ecosystem? And it's totally doable. A big change is what we call the experience economy. You know, if you think about where the world is today, you go back 300 years ago, everybody was a farmer or a rancher. Then we pulled stuff out of the ground. Then, like my family, we made things like ladders. Then we went into financial services like the mortgage people. But today it's about Airbnb, about Starbucks, about Apple, about Disney. People want to enjoy, they want to experience. Hence our name HomeX is home experience. So this clearly is the age of the economy that we're living in. And home builders would be best served if they can say, I want to be an experience provider, just like cars and GM making more money from their services than making more money with the steel. And as you think about what drives that economy, it's a digital economy. Ty talked about it earlier when he presented his company. He mentioned it again. Today, 2/3 of consumers want to engage digitally with their service providers. And we talked about how we sold houses during the COVID days online. That's the future. That's how people want to interact. They don't want to interact with a pizza company digitally, right? Who would ever want to do that? Well, if you take a look at Domino's, I think you had some stats. They went up 500 times in value.
John didn't want me talking about pizza before lunch,
all right.
though. So
now it's after lunch. We can talk
so
about
I took that
pizza.
slide out.
So if you take a look at Domino's, Domino's has gone up as a company 500 times in value because you can track the pizza.
Yeah, but you know what I like about their app? And I do this. Just order a Coke because they'll tell you when they put it in the oven.
Oh, that's so funny.
Because the app's really stupid, actually.
Stupid. So
If you order a Coke, it says, your Coke's in the oven.
Yeah, no, not.
Gotta
And
be
that shows
available
you the
soon.
limitations of technology because it's not perfect. Because somebody's still
figured you
programmed.
for a
that.
Domino's guy.
And that actually, you know, it's no different than home services. On this slide, who has had a perfect, delightful home service experience? Probably fewer hands will go up than the two people who do business in California. You know, consumers struggle with taking care of their homes. And they struggle because trust is lacking, they don't have digital convenience, and they often don't have transparency. So that's the problem that we're working with today. And going back, Joan, to where you started, from a builder standpoint, you say, you know, I've heard all this stuff for 20, 30 years. There's an entire graveyard of companies that have tried things and blown up. Because they've screwed up. Then it was my reputation as a builder that got hit. The economics weren't good. They may have rev shared the first year and then they forgot my email address and I never saw any other checks. Or I'm now building 5,000 homes a year and they couldn't scale. That's the historic reality.
Yeah,
That's history.
I actually think that's probably the third leg of your stool. You know, you talk about the kind of the cyclicality of our business, the legal issues, but I think you hit on this reputational management. If you use third parties, it's really scary for a builder.
Right.
Because the bottom line is, if I've got this app and I've got this service and I'm recommending this person to come in and they screw up, they're going to call the builder then eventually.
Always.
And you had nothing to do with it, right? You know, it's like, and you can't just sit there. Oh, that's a third party. It's not us.
Even integrators. That was our number one callback.
Yeah.
Was when.
So I think that trusted partner and having brand parity, meaning whatever brand you have as a builder and reputation, then you have to have a third party that has
that equals or exceeds.
Exactly.
So historically, it wasn't worth it, right? We could talk to her blue in the face, but how many builders are going to want to take the old paradigm and make it work? Very few, because it really was not a good experience for the builder. So then you say, what's changed? And we've been talking about technology. We've been talking about how the world has changed. I'm also a great hockey fan. Skating to where the puck's going to be is how we're trying to build our company. So if we think about what's changed, 3 big things have changed. The first is that business models have changed. And this is just a simple schematic of our platform. And we're fundamentally building a platform that connects consumers with very data-rich environments with end contractors, with the service providers. And quite easily, we could actually integrate all this with the builders, with their CRM, as well as with their operating systems. Technology is so different today than it was even 5 years ago, that you can do things that you could have never done before. So fundamentally, technology has changed and business models starting with platforms.
I mean, you think about it, you could do a lending tree almost. It says, you know, you need a plumber? Great, here's 3 5-star plumbers that will compete for your business.
So actually, I don't like that model.
Yeah.
I like a model where you actually intermediate and you're responsible for the service. And this slide actually shows our tech stack. So the second thing that's really changed is bringing artificial intelligence and machine learning to the fore, and then you can actually match people based upon what their real needs are, as opposed to just throwing the meat over the fence and letting the animals go wild on it. So what we've done, on the left, you can see our tech stack, which looks very complicated, and I don't even know what half those words mean, the technologists do. But on the right, you can see what I do understand, which is our consumer app. And the whole idea is to take heavy technology, couple it with a business model, our platform, and make it really simple for the consumer, make it frictionless. And that's what we've been working to build out. And then the third thing, which is music for everybody's ears here, is that the dollars are now big enough that if you engaged post-sale, as Tim talked about earlier, you can get a lot closer to doubling your profitability. So that way, rather than the $30,000, $35,000 a home, you're making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over the lifetime of that home.
Right.
And those are 3 things that fundamentally have changed the game.
But the revenue is flowing through HomeX.
The revenue can flow different ways through different parties. Some of it may flow through HomeX, some of it may be the reverse. So what I wanted to do, that was kind of a little bit of the background and the theory, and very quickly, because I know we're short on time, just touch on 6 different opportunities, and I won't deep dive into any of them. But this page just shows you on the bottom 6 different things that you can do. And the basic idea is you can start very simply, where it's light touch and digital, and then you can also, as you go to the right, you get more heavy. All these are designed to leverage technology and designed to leverage the experience economy and what the builders already have, which is the trust that they started with their consumers. So the first idea is to continue the transition from when you hand over the keys. Don't just hand over the keys and say goodbye and send them a bouquet of flowers or whatever, a fruit basket. Actually engage with the consumer on an ongoing basis. And don't do it where you've got somebody who has one more thing they have to do to make a phone call, but actually do it in a very professional way. So in the case of HomeX, we've actually started a service that we partnered with Allstate Insurance, where they actually have home walkthroughs for their clients. So after somebody gets a new insurance policy, they can have a licensed technician walk the consumer through. And most importantly, what comes out of it is really developing a list of regular maintenance and activities you need to do, which you start to tie in to lifetime value. The second idea is what we call HomeX Remote Assist. And this is something we actually piloted during COVID, when technicians could not go into people's homes. So our tech team includes the people who literally built the brain of Amazon's Alexa. And we've been building out a data lake, an AI engine, and all the things that bring it all together so that we can have the equivalent of telehealth for home services. And it enables us to be able to answer a high percentage of the questions with a high degree of accuracy, a great percentage of the time. And we actually do it again, much like telehealth. So what's that mean for a home builder? What it means for a home builder is that you can package with your sale. You can literally bundle it as part of the sale. As Tim was talking about, digital, for us it's digital plans, but really lifetime service plans that might be a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year. The first couple years may be free depending upon the price of the home. Then you can get subscription afterwards. And Joan, going to your point, you may actually sell it as part of the home mortgage. And as we saw earlier today, there's more room in a lot of those mortgages. You can get the revenue up front, and then you actually are paying a third-party provider, which could be HomeX or somebody else who creates something similar. And what's also nice about this, in our platform, what we've built out, and this goes to your concern again, is that today we have 50,000 technicians on our platform. We're a young company, we're about 4 years old. We think we'll be at a couple 100,000 in the next couple of years. And those technicians are not the ones where we're throwing the meat over the fence and every contractor is racing for it. They're actually technicians where we control their schedule. In many cases, we control their customer experience. We do their live voice and chat for them. So we are fundamentally changing the paradigm, because contractors are superheroes. They are fabulous with the tool case, but quite often, they much rather have somebody else take care of some of the business aspects for them. And that's part of what HomeX has been building out in our platform. So if you bring these plans together, you can do it with a digital plan, you can do it with a home walkthrough, you can do it with remote assist and diagnosis, and you can also add to it scheduled maintenance plans. No different than cars. Many cars today come with a 1, 3, 5-year maintenance plan. Matter of fact, I'm sure in the next couple of years, Teslas will drive themselves to the dealer when they need to have something fine-tuned. And as a consumer, all you're going to do is press the accept button when they're scheduling it for you. So the opportunity here is to be able to build a plan, and these can be done on a custom basis. They can be done on a neighborhood basis, however people want to do it, so that you can actually engage long-term with your consumer, and you can get part of that revenue share. And by partnering with a company like HomeX, and this isn't as a commercial because others ultimately will do this and there's always going to be competition, you'll be able to have partners who can manage some of that after-sales service for you. Tim also touched on smart homes. All the homes are getting smart. That's why people are going to want to buy new homes. And the idea that home builders today don't have their hand in monitoring, that they're not engaged in the after-sale activities, to me is crazy. But again, we've got to have that 15 minutes where we can interact and find the people who want to test these things and be able to build out the model and the pilots for it. And then we can figure out how we can help the home builders monetize that. And I think as we do that, we can address, Joan, the legal issues that you
The arbitrage there is huge. I mean, the wholesale home security monitoring is $3 a month. So anything you charge above $3 a month, right, is pure
gravy.
profit.
Pure profit.
I mean, it's
Pure
ridiculous.
profit.
It's one of the most lucrative markets that's out there, right? And yet most home builders don't
Touch it.
take in that. You know, when you were talking on that last slide, you talked about it as a service. It really seems like, you know, the path that we're on is we're trying to figure out how we can take housing and start to provide housing as a service.
Exactly.
You know, in almost every vertical, people are trying to move away from the discrete sale to
The whole idea of the experience economy.
right. It's
subscription.
it's use as a service. And like in the auto industry, for example, they're trying to move away from selling cars to transportation as a service. You know, Cadillac launched as $599 a month. You can drive any car anytime. If you want a truck, you want an Escalade, you want a sports car, you want a two-seat car, it doesn't matter. You just go to the dealer and pick up what you want when you want it, right? You can drive any car. And so I don't even own a car. I just have transportation as a service.
Yeah.
And so the question is how in housing can we do that? And I realize there's a physical asset here for wealth accumulation, but can you take the other piece of it and actually make it housing as a service? Where I have this amazing lifestyle. It's really lifestyle as a service, right? I have this amazing lifestyle in my home, and
we think it ties back to the experience economy.
2-minute warning.
All right, 2-minute warning. We'll be good. We'll be done.
oh, good. You know the thing I like about 2-minute warnings, the clock stops. This is awesome.
And you also score more touchdowns than in any other time
The
during
clock is
There you
stopped.
go.
We can talk as
No
long as we
huddle.
want now.
We're huddling.
All right.
Let's go.
This is
Throw
awesome.
the pass.
Let's go, GOAT. So touching again, and this really dovetails, Tim, with what you said again. The purchases done by people who own homes, they range from 1% to 2% just for maintenance, but then you put in everything else and it's 3, 4, 5% of the home price. So literally tens of thousands of dollars a year are being spent. If you think about e-commerce, 16% of e-commerce purchases come from affiliate revenue. You know what that means? Every time you as a builder have that relationship, have that data, you should be getting your cash register to ring because somebody's buying a couch, or somebody's buying an air filter, or somebody's buying other things to take care of their house.
I think the other thing that happens here, Michael, to violate my 2-minute warning order is that it's not just about enabling a transaction. If we have all of this data on what's in the house, the as-built home, now the service provision becomes way more efficient because most of these contractors arrive and spend the first hour doing forensics on the physical structure instead of knowing what's in there and what the pieces and parts are that might fix it. So there's an efficiency
And that
there
goes
to
to the whole
capitalize
that
on.
goes to the whole vision of home ownership.
Yeah.
Our vision is a builder, as they build a house, are using something like Envision to have all the products selected. You could be working with Ty to put them all into a digital binder. That could then interact with HomeX, that then has the rest of it and becomes the home repository. And over time, we see HomeX becoming the communications medium, becoming the digital repository of all the monitoring, all the IoT devices, and it all starts to come together. But when I start talking about that, people say, we're due back on planet Earth now, Dwayne, so let's start with what we can do today. So this slide just shows you where we might be able to start. 3 simple things. When you sell a house, if you actually had a digital package that included home walkthroughs, which might be 1, 2, 5, however many they need, might include remote diagnosis and assistance, telehealth for them, and while they're not going to have maintenance issues, I imagine that probably 92% of people who buy homes, and I'm making up that number, don't really know how to use their Nest thermostat or their Sonos speakers or all the other high-tech things that are in there. And you certainly don't want to get that call as a builder to have to come back and deal with that. And you certainly don't want it going to 26 contractors who should be building your next house. Wouldn't it be great to have a third party who can help you? And then you can tie that together in a digital service plan so you can get another $500, $1,000, $2,000 at close, build it right into the mortgage, and that can be a 3-5-year type package to take care of basic maintenance. So those are the things that I would start with, and that's how I would get this whole process started.
Great. Thank you so much. We got to get out of here. HomeX was the sponsor of this session, so let's give Michael and HomeX a hand. Our panel, great insights, great experience shared. Joan, thank you.